Hi everyone, Marian here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a video I am so excited to share with you guys because this is the last one in my Summer Shabbat series. If you haven't caught the rest of them, I will leave a link to the playlist below. But this whole summer I've been sharing all sorts of ideas on how to elevate the Shabbat experience in your own home, whether it's recipes or Shabbat with kids or all sorts of wonderful things. But this is the final culmination episode in the series, and this is all about entertaining elegantly for Shabbat. I personally love to host. It is one of my greatest joys in life, and I don't say that lightly. It is something I deeply care about, and I just love making my home and my meal as beautiful as possible for my guests. So because I am in the season of life with a toddler and a newborn, I am not doing much elegant entertaining these days. So it is a real treat for me to make this video for you guys and show you how I am prepping for Shabbat tonight. And I am super excited to showcase some gorgeous Jewish items and some gorgeous serving items, because that goes into my whole philosophy about how to entertain, which I will get into in this video. So here are my 5 best tips on how to host an elegant Shabbat dinner. Let's jump into the video. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Marian. I make videos about being a Jewish mom, and I would love it if you subscribe. Okay, my first tip for hosting an elegant Shabbat dinner is setting the table in advance. That's what I'm going to jump into first, and I'm going to show you guys how I set a beautiful, elegant table. The first thing that I do is set everything out on the table and label each servingware with the dish that's going to go in it. That way I make sure I have a dish ready to go for each thing I'm cooking and that it all fits on the table, because I like to entertain with the food on the table. The next thing I'm going to do is set each table setting. I like to start with these white placemats, which really stand out against my dark wood table, and then I just use my china and cloth napkins because, like I said, it's an elegant Shabbat, so I like to do it up. I lay out all the pieces, and then I'm going to put our crystal wine glasses next to each plate and also a little shot glass. I'm going to talk more about that later in the video. Okay, so I just finished setting the table. I actually think it turned out so beautifully. I'm very happy with it, and I'm going to show you guys some of the pieces and talk about them, and then I will take all that food out of my oven, out of my refrigerator, and fully prep the table because it is almost time for my guests to come over, and I am so excited. Okay, so here is an overview of the table. Again, I tried to keep it really simple and just let the pieces I have shine and not to worry about too much faff and flowers and whatnot. I ended up putting one little stem on each plate. Okay, so let's start with these gorgeous Shabbat candles. Annieglass actually gifted these to me. They were so kind. I love them so much. All of the servingware on my table right now is Annieglass, and I wanted to highlight that for you guys. So they just came out with these for their spring collection, and when I saw them, I was like, oh my goodness, these would make such beautiful Shabbat candles. I'll link everything below to their website and everything. They are sold separately, by the way, so just keep that in mind. You have to buy them. You have to buy 2 to make a pair, but I just think that they stand out as the centerpiece in the table, and that's what I was really trying to do, is focus on Shabbat and make Shabbat the centerpiece. So by keeping the Shabbat candles in the center of the table and highlighting them in this way with just some simple greenery below them, to me really stands out, and I think it's going to be so beautiful to eat with the candlelight. The other Annieglass pieces I want to show you guys are my challah board. Again, I received this for my wedding and have just loved it ever since. We use it almost every Friday night. And the other pieces are these 2 ruffled edge platters. This one I'm going to put the veggies in, and this the chicken. I've had these since I got married, and again, just love them so much. And this is another piece that Annieglass very kindly sent me. This is also from their new collection. I will link below so you can see the exact one, but it is just so stunning, and I can't wait to put the food out so you guys can see how it all looks put together. So now that the table is all set, I'm going to jump into the menu, and I'm going to flash back to last night when I cooked it all. The second tip I have is to plan the menu. This menu took me exactly 1 hour to make. Yes, I did time it. I started right when my kids went to bed, and it was about 1 hour. And it's a really simple menu of chicken, rice, and broccoli and kugel as my main dishes. So I'm starting with the chicken. I'm using olive oil, sun-dried tomatoes, mustard, and some chopped fresh herbs from my garden. All I do is cover the chicken with it and pop it in the oven. Next up is the kugel, and another super simple recipe. I use egg noodles with raisins, a vegan margarine instead of butter, and a vegan almond milk with eggs, sugar, and cinnamon. All I do is cook up the noodles while the chicken was cooking, added raisins, the margarine, some cinnamon, and then the better half and half. It's an almond milk substitute, and some sugar. I like my kugel, this is how I was raised with it, to be non-dairy, so I'm not used to a lot of like cream and cheese in my kugel. There are those types, but this is how I make mine. I think it's really good and pairs really well with a meat dish. What you're going to do is then place the hot noodles into a cold dish so that they cool down a little bit, so you can add in the egg and a little bit more milk without the eggs scrambling. You don't want that to happen. And then just cover it and pop it in the oven. Next up is my rice dish. I cooked the rice the night before, and then I just add fresh herbs, pine nuts, a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, and oh my goodness, it is so good. The fresh herbs really make a difference in these type of simple recipes. So here's the chicken out of the oven and all done. The kugel is also just finishing up its last bit. The rice is ready to go, and all I do is roast the broccoli and I'm done. So now that you've seen my simple recipes and how I prep the dinner, I want to talk to you a little bit more about why I like this type of menu. What I like to do is actually plan, this might shock you, a really simple menu. I don't like to go all glam on my food because number one, not everybody likes all sorts of crazy recipes with funny ingredients. Number two, if you are preparing a really intricate recipe, you might have a really messy kitchen and feel really flustered, and that's the last thing you want when your guest comes over. And number three, I just find it really difficult to prepare an entire Sabbath meal when your guests are coming after a work day. It's a Friday after all. I personally love true home-cooked traditional Jewish recipes that just always taste delicious and are kind of what you expect for Shabbat. However, I do believe in elevating them so that they can be part of your elegant Shabbat dinner, and I'm going to show you guys how I do that with beautiful servingware. For me, it just feels like I am investing in the Shabbat experience, in the happiest memories that my family will have, and in something that I'm going to pass down to my children so that they can hopefully take into their home and that will become special, meaningful objects to them as well. I know I remember all of my mom's servingware in her home, and I hope to have beautiful things to pass along to my children as well. The third tip I have is don't try to make everything yourself. If your guests are coming, definitely ask them to bring something. Every polite guest should offer to bring something, but in case they don't, you can always phrase it really nicely and be like, hey, do you want to bring dessert or whatever, just, you know, in a casual way, unless they're people you don't really know that well. But most likely people will offer and definitely take them up on that offer. I always ask guests to either bring a salad or a vegetable side. The reason I do that is because those are the items I need to have sort of fairly freshly ready to go. So it's not like the chicken where you can cook it the day before and leave it. I mean, you could sort of chop some veggies before and that's fine, but usually you have to pop them in the oven right before you serve them. Or for a salad, you know, you can't dress it too far in advance, little things like that. So for me, it's easier to auction off those duties. The other thing I might ask people to bring is dessert. But if you have a kosher home and your guests don't keep kosher, that can be a little bit tricky to try to explain the non-dairy desserts, etc. So I find salads and vegetables are the easiest things. So for dessert, it couldn't be easier, but it also couldn't be more beautiful. All I did was buy a babka. You want to make sure it's parve if you're serving meat for your meal to keep it kosher. And all I'm going to do is slice it up, but I'm going to serve it on this gorgeous serving platter. This I bought in London. I think it's Marks and Spencer's. It wasn't very expensive. It was like maybe $15, but it's gorgeous. And then I have the China tea set, also from that same brand that registered for our wedding, and just put out some flowers. I'm going to set this all up for you guys so you see what the dessert looks like. So all I do is chop the babka into small pieces, and what I love about this is you can see the marbling inside each piece of babka, which is what makes this Jewish dessert so special. My fourth tip is a little spin on something I've mentioned before. So I talk about how we sing the Shalom Aleichem prayer in our home to welcome the Sabbath and also just bring everyone together, because it's kind of like a shock to the system when you arrive for a dinner and you all start singing. But it's a very Jewish thing to do, and like I said, it really brings people together. So the spin I have on that for my elegant Shabbat dinner is to do a l'chaim. If you don't know what a l'chaim is, it's basically a shot, but it's a Jewish shot. So it's very traditional on Shabbat to do some drinking, and since this is an elegant adults only Shabbat dinner, it's perfectly appropriate. And wine and alcohol in Judaism is used as this medium to transmit ourselves into a more spiritual state, and of course when used responsibly, I think that to me it does elevate the Shabbat experience. So to do a l'chaim, you just pour some liquor into a shot glass. It's usually a brown liquor like a scotch. You'll definitely see this at like Jewish weddings and bar mitzvahs, not the bar mitzvah boy but the adults, and people to give a toast, whether they're wishing a prayer or saying thank you for something that happened this week, or just general, we're so happy to be together. Everyone says l'chaim and drinks, and it just really elevates the spirit of the day or the night. Oh my goodness, I don't think I have ever been as excited for Shabbat as I am right now. The house smells amazing. I'm so happy with the way everything turned out. I'm going to show you guys how it all looks now that it's come together, and yeah, here we go. Okay, so let's start with dessert because you know it's everyone's favorite. I just laid out our teacups beautifully, cut up that babka. Oh, that's my son's scooter. I need to put that away. Put some flowers out and some forks and little cake plates from our same setting. That is dessert all ready to go, and our guests are bringing fruit, which is perfect. So that will complement this little babka very nicely. And then here is the Shabbos meal all put together. We've got the chicken. It turned out so gorgeous. The broccoli, just simple, roasted, and this amazing rice pilaf, which, oh my goodness, guys, I think I could eat that whole bowl. But just look at how gorgeous the Annieglass accentuates the dish and just makes it all so beautiful. It just makes me so happy. And then, of course, the beautiful Shabbat candles in the center of the table. And then, of course, the kugel all baked and ready to go. This, by the way, smells freaking amazing. Maybe I'll just eat the whole kugel too. And yeah, that is the finished Shabbat table. And the fifth tip I have for an elegant Shabbat dinner is to prepare your home in advance. You want the rooms that the guests are entering into to be clean, to be bright, to smell nice. I think it's really important to not have junk all over the place. I personally tried to keep a very minimalist home in some ways, and part of the reason I do that is because it makes cleaning up for guests a lot easier. So we'll have like one box of toys, and all the toys just get thrown in that box. You won't see, you know, tons of cluttered papers and knickknacks and things all over the house, because you want your guests to feel like you prepared for them. You're excited for them to come over. And to me, when you don't prepare your home, it instantly sends a visual message like, you're not supposed to be here. This is a private place. You want it to feel like a setting that they're welcome in, and there's certain visual and scent cues that send that message to your guests. And the other part about creating a welcoming atmosphere is just for you yourself to have a welcoming attitude. It may seem obvious, but when you see like couples bickering in the kitchen or little things like that, it just again gives you that vibe like, oh, maybe I don't want to hang out here all evening. What you want to do is create, as best as you can, an environment for people to want to linger and enjoy time with you. So those are my 5 tips for creating an elegant Shabbat dinner. Again, thank you so much to Annieglass for sending me these beautiful pieces to share with you guys. I hope that you'll find some lovely ones for your home as well, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!